The point I want to make is this connection in the beginning of verse 11. Israel has sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant. So Yahweh's making a connection to sin and the covenant. Breaking the commandments is sin. Breaking the covenant is sin. Essentially, they're the same thing. Why? Well, because the covenant was what? Exodus 19. If you agree to do the Torah, obey the commandments, do what I say, then I will agree to take you as my people and provide the other things. So the covenant is centered on Torah observance. That's part of the confusion, is that they believe that they're in a covenant that somehow is separate and completely divorced from the previous covenant. It doesn't have anything to do with it. It's got a whole different set of rules and regulations. Really, it doesn't have hardly any. And so, therefore, they don't have to do any of those things. This is the lie that they've been told and sold. See, vision is given to leader. Leader then shares that vision with the other leaders who then share it with the people. See, unfortunately, we get to a time like today where everybody thinks they're individually given the vision. Oh, I've got a vision, and this is the way things are supposed to go, or this is what's supposed to happen. But that's not the way it shows up scripturally ever. You never see the general populace given a vision. Leadership is given the vision, and then that vision is shared. And then when people decide not to go by that vision, it's called multiple visions or division. And then you have division in the body, more than one vision. Interesting, in verse 11, he brings in this idea of love. And we're going to redo the teaching at some point, love in Torah, but if you go back and listen to the original one, you'll see that almost everywhere love is talked about in terms of loving each other and loving Yahweh, it's connected very closely to verses that are talking about Torah observance. Because that's what is loving. The way you love Yahweh is you trust him and you obey him. It also refers, by the way, to teaching. Yoking is a discipleship term. You would be yoked to a teacher. That's why Yeshua says, take my yoke, it's light. The yoke is the instruction, the teaching. So he says, don't be instructed unequally with unbelievers where you're now getting confused in your instruction. Look, I don't want to tell you guys to not watch other stuff out there on YouTube or listen to other teachers on podcasts or whatever it is you're doing out there, but you need to be really careful. Those are inputs, and you can get emotionally attached to those inputs. So he's saying, look, have as much faith and confidence and belief and trust in the good word, have that same in the evil that he promises as well. Just like you expect him to do all the things that he promises that you want him to do that are good and take care of you and provide for you, if you break covenant, all the evil stuff, that goes back to Deuteronomy 28. The first part of the chapter is all the good stuff. Second part of the chapter starts dealing with all the evil stuff. And you know what? There's a whole lot more of that than the first. I didn't see Abraham hesitating when he was Abram and he said, hey, Abram, you need to go. Leave everything you know behind. He just said, yes, sir. No argument. That wasn't easy. These are not easy choices. But you know, the reason you have to leave those things behind is because if you don't, you will not covenant, because the world will not allow that. Your friends will not allow that. Your family will not allow that. They're going to attack you, embarrass you, shame you, whatever they need to do to get you to stay where they are. They do not want you to break free and go into that other place, that place called separated. It does you no good as parents to force your children to do things. Torah-wise, when they get to a certain age. You must get them to see it for themselves and make their own choices. Because once you no longer have the hand of force on them, they're going to go do what they want anyway. Just like it's no good for me to force you to do anything. Because I've had people come up to me and said, well, why do you let these people do this? Or why don't you? Because it doesn't do any good for me to make them do it. He explains the covenant right there again in one sentence. They have broken my covenant by doing what? Not obeying my voice. What is the covenant? I agree to obey your voice. Covenant's not like 5,000 lines of small print and all this other stuff. Now, he does give us lots of lines of print to explain what it means and what it looks like to obey his voice, but the covenant is one line. We agree to do what he says. That's it. It's really not that complex. This is an issue of love, but we forget that sometimes. When we're in Joshua 23, remember we read that? It says, and to love Yahweh with all of our heart. Otherwise, we're not going to walk in the ways we're supposed to. See, it says his displeasure burned. What is fear of Yahweh really? Not wanting to put him in a place where he feels that way about us. We don't want his displeasure to burn against us.